All right, well, this kind of sucks. This is the Michigan Motorsports Trunnion upgrade with the bronze bushings. I thought it came with the washers that you need for installation, but here in the instructions it says optional installation kit. I thought that I had ordered the installation kit, so that's kind of disappointing. I don't know if we'll be able to make do, but I just want to get a record of it. All right, I've gotten 4 done. They do rotate, but it's very time consuming. I'm not going to go through the process, but almost every time I'm having to push it back and forth 2 or 3 times to get it centered up. And that's pretty difficult considering they didn't give me my washers. If I had the washers, I wouldn't have to do this. But I've got 3 different sockets that I'm using to hit at different intervals. It's very tedious, and it's kind of nerve-wracking because this bronze, this is expensive. If you mess one up, you're out of luck. But I did pack them with Lucas assembly lube, so hopefully they'll stay lubricated until we get some Earl pressure. I probably won't, definitely won't tonight. I won't finish this tonight. I might try to get one on video, but I already hate doing the camera, and 2, every time I get the camera, things go haywire. So I'll just see how it's going tomorrow when I finish these up. I forgot an important part. The reason that this is so tedious is my hands are covered in lubricant, and it's really hard to juggle like 4 things at once, you know, in a row. If you can imagine that in here, and this is all slick. I mean, it's just what, like, worst case scenario for traction. That's why it's time consuming and frustrating. Also, I haven't even put these on yet. Oh, actually, I'm glad I turned the camera back on. These are brand new. I swapped the heads around, but these are some Pittsburgh snap ring pliers, and that's what I'll be using to put these on. What I'm gonna do is get them all assembled, and then I'll come back and do all the snap rings. It's probably the easiest way. Actually, I know it is, because all this lubricant all over my hands is making everything exponentially more difficult. But they're coming together. 25% done? Yeah, we're 25% done. I'm gonna regret this, but I'm gonna try to just get the footage so I can be done with it. There's allegedly a bevel, a big one and a small one, but they look identical. But it has me paranoid, so I've checked every one, even though I know they're the same. This is why the lubricant gets all over me. There's no easy way to do this. Oh, it's so slick. I literally can't hold on to it. There we go. Perfect. Now, there is something here that I'm going to address. And what it is these are pressed in against each other. And if you press too hard, it won't rotate. So what I'm kind of concerned about is what is the minimum free play that it needs? Because this will get warm or it get hot. And I don't know if it's going to seize up if there's no movement at all. So I'm going to look into that. And if so, I'm just going to come back and loosen them up a tad. Yeah, not one has had a bevel. And they have a bevel, but they're absolutely identical. See, that one's too tight. There we go. These things spin 360 degrees. See, it feels like it's rubbing a little bit. I know it will wear off or wear away, but I want them perfect from the get-go. So, all right. Well, fortunately, nothing happened. That's a first. Well, I went ahead and soldiered through and completed all of them. So I'm going to take this hammer and one by one, I'm going to hold it in the middle and just hit both sides, kind of like with the crank, how you set the thrust bearing. I think that will give me the tolerance that will make me more comfortable. Let me show you what I'm comfortable with. The last one I did. See, it moves just a little bit. Another thought I had, I think the way these things are designed, if there is needed side pressure, I think the bushing would push out. You know, that's with the same force that we just pressed it in, it could be pressed out. So I'm not really losing sleep over it. But I do want to take a hammer and just see if I can bonk them one on each side to give them just that little bit of wiggle room. But other than that, we're going to be putting these all together. I'll finish cleaning that tomorrow. It's clean. It's just the insides of the holes. I need to just take a bore brush, punch them out, and ready to assemble these 317 heads. All right, we have got to backtrack a little. Not a big deal. So, I was cleaning these, I guess they're just rocker arm bolts. And I was doing the last check, you know, throwing these on here, you know, just pre-staging them. See if I'm missing something, make sure everything's good. And I poked something down in these holes and they were dirty. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to do a thread chaser. Oops. Where you cut grooves in here. What I did is I sprayed a bunch of brake cleaner. It's been about 2 days since I've been working on this. So a couple days ago I sprayed these full of brake cleaner. So I'm hoping that it disintegrated a bunch of it, and now I'm going to fill them back up with brake cleaner and spray them out with the air. So there was something else I was wanting to add. This was the main thing though. I want to document that I'm having to backtrack a little bit. I don't know if it's the end of the world if it's dirty in there. Like, it's not like a head bolt or a main stud, but it's something worth noting. So if for anything else, it can show somebody that sometimes you have to go backwards to go forward. It's not a big deal. The head is perfect. It's ready to rip. But we're just going to tidy up this last little thing, and we'll start putting these puppies on. Those are 600 springs from Richard Holdener. I got the cam and the springs from Richard Holdener, along with injectors. Something else too, I can't remember. Anyway, I gotta get to work. I am sure glad I came back and was looking at these. I was afraid of it in the back of my mind too. These valve seats just started to rust a little bit, so I'm coming back with this very fine. And a little bit there, a little bit there. I thought I had, at some point I had done WD-40, but since I've cleaned them so many times, I probably just didn't put it back on there. It's not deep, but I'm glad I found it now. There's no good reason to keep it in there. So I'm glad I came back and checked those, whatever they're called, rocker arm holes. Shout out to JH Diesel. Good old redneck holding it down in Florida. Okay, I'm just going to throw this in real quick. We're on the heads still. But I wanted to throw this in with this video too, real quick. Summit sucks. Summit sucks. It's been almost 3 weeks and I have still yet to receive the snail mail of the paperwork that was supposed to come with my rotating assembly for the, more specifically, the torque specifications for my rod bolts. It's going on 3 weeks. In a couple days is going to be 3 weeks, and I still have not received it. I'm not going to go through the whole story. I'm doing a whole separate video just to bash Summit. But I want this to be in the heads video too. I'm pretty pissed. I don't really want to sit down and do anything where I need to focus right now. I just want to get this on video, go throw the bash Summit video out, and then I'll come back and finish these heads up. But yeah, this is the 3rd week that I have not gotten my paperwork. First of all, it's a joke that they have to snail mail it to me instead of just emailing me a PDF or something. But even worse, the snail mail's not here. So anyway, that's it. I want to say how much I hate Summit. And it pains me to say that, but I hate Summit. Company, I've always worked in customer service to some extent. And I know what good customer service is, and this is not it. And for me to spend $5,000 with them already, and to get a thank you like this, no. I'll take my money elsewhere. And like I had discussed before, this is my first of 3 projects that are known. I'm not counting the ones that are going to come up in a few years. You know, who knows? So I hope to cost Summit $50,000. I hope that enough people see this and they're like, you know, I actually trust that guy's judgment. I think I'm going to also go somewhere else. That's my hope. So I'm going to go throw that video up. This will be in the heads video. The weather's perfect, so that'll hopefully lighten my mood, and we'll get this fire-breathing dragon put together. All right, well, we have begun prepping. Well, we're mostly done with the prepping. I'm basically getting it ready to assemble. I just wanted to get a couple things in here that I didn't really think were that big of a deal, but might be one of those little small things that nobody ever talks about. So I took the Lucas assembly lube and I punched the valve guides. So they're full of assembly lube, and these are the valve stem seals, which are going to go over the valve guides. Well, I stuffed the tip of them with assembly lube as well. I don't know if it's the legit way to do it, but there's going to be a lot of friction on this before it gets oil pressure. So I don't see a downside. One thing I do see a downside though, and which I took quite a bit of time to make sure it didn't happen. There does not need to be oil between these, the valve guide and the valve guide seal, valve stem seal. So I did rub them down with assembly lube just to put a good synthetic coating on it so it doesn't rust. but then I wiped it off. So it's basically whatever's on there is soaking into the metal. I don't think you need lubricant in between, but there's something else. I went ahead and covered these with oil because that's bare steel. So I, using a glove, I put a bunch of 30 weight oil and just got it on every exposed surface. And I pushed one of these down just to see what it felt like. And it looks like they just pushed straight down. I had some sockets in case I was going to have to hammer them in. But, I mean, you can just easily push it down. So, this will be the last step before we start dropping the valves in there and putting the springs on. And I was reading the manual a minute ago just to refresh my memory. I won't be assembling these. The heads have to go on before I put those on. So I get ahead of myself a little bit. So what we'll be doing is putting the valve springs and valves in. Then we'll be assembling them on the engine. Depending on when my head studs get here. Oh, and a note on the head studs. Man, it hurt. It hurt. So you can get ARP head bolts for like 120 bucks. But they have different levels, so I ended up paying like 420 bucks. There's 8740, which is top notch. I mean, it's great. But then you have a step above that. ARP 2000. That's what my rod bolts are made out of. So it was a $100 difference, basically. So given the spirit of this build, I went ahead and coughed up the extra, well, really an extra $300. I didn't need head studs. I could have gotten away probably with the head bolts that are 120. But like I said, this is a long-term build that's going to be overbuilt. So I went ahead and coughed up the $400 and something. It was probably about $450 or $460 when you consider tax and shipping. Just for friggin' head bolts, head studs. But it's one thing I will not have to ever worry about, hopefully. So regardless of whether I get those head studs or not, I've got the head bolts here. I actually started cleaning them. They've been soaking in a brake cleaner trying to... I mean, they really weren't bad, but I need them spick and span going in because I've already chased the threads on the block. That's a really long-winded way of saying I'm going to put the valve springs and valves in, along with the guides and guide seals. Well, the guides are in. Assemble the head on the block using either these or the studs, depending on when they come. So if they don't come tomorrow, I'll probably end up, well, I'm in no hurry. I'll probably end up waiting for the studs just because, I mean, I already paid for them. And, well, I'll tell you what, if they're not here by Friday, then we'll move ahead because I do kind of want to get the push rods. There's a lot of other stuff we got to do on this, so it's not like I'm being held up, but I really would like to get the push rods measured and off my mind because that's kind of like the last thing I'm having to think about, you know. Everything else is just assembly. So, all right, that was a really long-winded way of saying nothing. This is minor, but it's actually legit. Well, now I can't get it off, but the valve guide seals themselves, valve stem seals themselves are bare steel. I'm going to need to rub those down with some oil too. Maybe WD-40 would do. But I just realized that putting them in. Any bare steel will rust, sometimes overnight, depending on how much iron is in it. So I just want to throw that in. That's something I just noticed. Something I just accidentally found out and reminded me that it's actually a good thing to check. So I was just throwing number 2 exhaust valve in to see how it felt. And when I was pulling it out, my finger was over the end of the valve stem and it was causing suction. So that's a good sign, because that's how you test if they're sealing up or not. So at least the number 2 exhaust has got really good suction on it, on the valve stem seal. I may or may not do the rest. Actually, yeah, I'll probably do all of them as I'm installing them. Well, this is kind of scary. I'm not sure how well it's going to show up, but each one of these has a line. I just came over here to you know, rotate it, because they've been sitting for a few days. I want to get that lubricant spread around, and man, oh man, it's leaving a trail, which I'm assuming is the gap on the ring. So that's got me nervous, man. Is there gonna be like tremendous blow by? I mean, look at that. That has me nervous, because that's what that is. That's the ring gap. That's pretty noticeable. Well, I just wanted to get it on camera. I mean, I'm laughing because I don't want to cry. That's going to suck if there's... Oh, I don't even want to think about it. I threw a little Mother's here on the corner to see what it looks like. I think that might actually be worth polishing out, because not a lot of it's going to be showing, but if I can just get some sparkle on the edges, that might be worth my effort. All right, this is going to be in the head video. This is head's part 2. I put the complaint, so I want to put the follow-up in the same video. Really long story short, Summit saw my complaint video. Within 1 day, called me, and the guy's name is Oliver. He did a really good job. I couldn't believe he saw the video. I have like no subscribers, and I'm a nobody. But apparently he saw it. It was very apologetic. Want to make it right, so he emailed me. I'm trying not to rehash everything, but the woman, it turns out, never even sent me my spec sheet in the mail. Turns out she could have emailed it to me. So I've been waiting for almost 3 weeks. Tomorrow it'll be 3 weeks. And Oliver is picking up the slack for her. And he emailed them to me. So this could have been all solved within a 5-minute phone call 3 weeks ago. Needless to say, they sent me a 10% coupon. But I can't ask anything other than that. They screwed up. They, as a company, Oliver didn't screw up. So Oliver's trying to clean up the mess this woman made. And if I can remember her name, I would dox her right now. I would throw her out under the bus. Not because she gave me the wrong specs, but because she told me she was going to mail them to me and never did. I've been waiting with bated breath daily for my spec sheet to finish up this build. It was never even coming. So I want to put some closure to it. I'm going to put a follow-up video that is going to probably explain everything more clearly. I don't know where the video tag goes, or whatever it's called. Whenever you can see the video, I'm going to put out a separate video that's going to explain everything and put some closure to it. I'm not going to pull the complaint video down, but I am going to be equitable and show how Summit followed up with it and made it. I'd say they made it right. There's nothing really else to say. They made it right. So thankfully, they called, got it sorted out. It was very professional and friendly. And as far as I'm concerned, the issue is done. And once these videos get put out, we'll move forward. So this is going to be in the head video, because yesterday is when I did the complaint. I haven't finished the video, so you'll get to see the complaint and the follow-up in the same video. But having said that, I did get my head studs. Sorry, it says bolts on the face. So we're ready to move forward with the heads. And I'm assuming, I didn't check I checked to see if the email came in, but I didn't look at it. So I'm assuming that the specs are correct. So once we get done with that, we can throw the heads on, and then we can order some push rods. It's a little frustrating, but I want people to see that this is what problems look like, and this is how problems are supposed to be handled. So Summit dropped the ball, Summit cleaned up their mess, and as far as I'm concerned, we're all good. So let's move on to the heads. Well, I grabbed my shotty. Came out here to kill a squirrel. Turn around and come back in, and what do you know? Man, what a turn of events I've had this last 24 hours. I'm gonna go grab those boxes. Oh, I actually got the camera because I was gonna talk about this. Actually, I'll cover it real quick. So this is 40 bucks. I ordered this from Summit. I was wrong, it was $20. But it says made in China. I'm not putting Chinese parts on my American car. So I was trying to figure this out. This was $40. I just checked on Amazon. This was $40. But I just traded one commie country for another one. Man, Vietnam #1. Actually, it says printed in USA. Has Mexican stuff and Vietnam. At least it's not China. Vietnam's way better than China. And then ARP. The thing I'm hesitant though, I read somewhere that you have to have the recessed bolts. So I'm not sure if that's the VVT, if that's like the Gen 4 with the DOD and VVT. But I've got 2 retainer plates, and here's another funny. I just ordered a gasket kit, and it comes with a retainer plate. So I'll have 3 retainer plates, none of which will probably be made in America. But I'm gonna go grab these boxes, and I'll give you a little unboxing for you nerds who like unboxing videos. I see ARP, big money, big money. That's $450 holla. ARP 2000 head studs, excuse me. Chevy LS 2004 and later. Hide these somewhere. I think this is my temperature sending unit. Yep. Starting to finish out the short block. I don't know why I got a hat. Okay, here are the recessed. Somebody in the reviews of the cam plate said be sure to get the recessed bolts, and those are $3 a pop, and they're Brian Tooley. So I got 4 of them. So I don't even know if I need them at this point, but it's $12 to make sure I can complete the engine. Hat. I didn't pay for that hat, by the way. Hold on. Non-returnable if seal is broken. Oh, and I did some Christmas shopping. They had a clearance, so I got my nephew. Man, that's bigger than I thought it would be. Huh. Aren't I a good uncle? Aren't I a good uncle? All right, I'm going to hold up on opening this because it says non-returnable if seal is broken. I want to double check and make sure. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it's the engine. It's the engine gasket kit. See, there's my 3rd cam plate. Rock Auto. Okay, this intake gaskets. I literally, hold on, make sure I don't slice it too deep. It's either a cam or a crank sensor. I can get it open. Oh, that's right, the oil level for the oil pan. If I can find it, which most of it I can find, I'm doing AC Delco or Delphi, or trying to keep it bare minimum OEM. And then exhaust manifold gaskets. And whatever those are for. All right, well, that came quick. Who wants to see what a $450 box of head studs looks like? Okay, good. I at least got a sticker. That's all I cared about. Okay, these are serrated. This is what I was looking out for. They're serrated on one side because they cut into the block so they don't move. That's a smooth side that takes the lube. Dang, man. Dinky little bolts are so expensive. Look at that. Now, I'll give you, my hands are bigger than average. And those look extra small, but daggone, man. 450 bucks. Well, assuming they do their job, I will never have to worry about them again. So, let me give a product number. 234-4345. 234-4345. They're the ARP 2000. They're listed at like 420 bucks. I estimated tax and shipping. I was actually pretty conservative on that. It's another 10% tax. Shipping was free. Which, this is another thing I appreciate. It's free shipping with Summit if it's $109 or more. Now, as somebody who's a noticer, I find that number exquisite. That's another reason I was not looking forward to not supporting them. But I meant to email them at some point and say, hey, I think it's actually up to 110 now. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you need to figure it out because it's affecting your daily life. Anyway, shout out to ARP for making such hopefully high quality studs. And thank you, Summit, for being funny and acknowledging the 109. All right, I just added the two up. I had to go back and find out how much I paid for the main studs. And I overshot the head studs because their retail is $420. I forget, I get 5% off for military. And man, I'm hating to bash on Summit so much. But they had a special Halloween promo code that if you typed it in, you could get, I think it's $40 off. But since I already had the military, it wouldn't take it. So I actually got penalized for having the military discount. I'm not complaining. It's just kind of sucks. It's like, dadgummit, there were $10 I could have had. But, okay. $240 for the main studs. Delivered, it's $260. I'm just going to tell you the total for the head and the mains. $700. Just for the two main things for bolts and studs. The head studs and the main studs, $700. So if you're trying to price how much your motor is going to cost doing premium parts, you're going to spend $700 just on two sets of main studs. Two sets of studs, mains and head studs. It blows my mind that GM on the oil pickup tube, they only use one bolt on such a critical part. So you can buy this billet upgrade. That's the only thing billet that I can afford. It was like 20 bucks. I think it said billet. But anyway, some of the reviews said it didn't fit, so I might have to grind it, but for $20 it was worth the gamble. Yeah, we got 4 of the BTR. They were BTR, by the way. The recessed ones. Oh, and here are the O-rings for the pickup tube. There's 2 different ones. Bolt. That's it. That's all was in that shipment. All right, seriously, I need to get on these heads. Time's a wasting. Well, this video has turned into a mess. But I was putting this on the shelf. I said, oh, let me take a quick look. I don't know how that's going to work. Am I going to have to cut this off? So if you're looking at the oil pump pickup tube brace, you might want to hesitate and see if that's going to work for you, because I don't know if this is going to work. It possibly could, but it's not without some modification. All right, finally, this is where the video was supposed to start. All right, yesterday I rubbed these down with oil. I got my retainers and clips separated, and just now I rubbed the valves down with 30 weight oil. The insides of the valve guides are full of Lucas assembly lube, and we've got the valve stem seals on. So all that's waiting is for me to start installing. Yep. One thing on this is bare steel, and they're going to be sitting for at least a couple months. So I coated them real well with oil because they will rust. They absolutely will rust. It's going to kind of complicate me installing them because I'm going to have lubricant all over my hands, but I'd rather deal with that than have rusty valves, especially after all the work we did to clean them. Well, the first two valves went in no problem. It took me a couple tries to figure out how to get this thing set up right, but this was the key. I had to go on the bottom, and that went on top of that, and then it went straight in. The problem I was having before is it was cocked too much. So if you tighten it down, it was not going to go straight. But this piece, like I just said, put that on the base, then put the black thing on top of that, and then tighten them down. Don't ask me why, but these are supposed to be like this. I would have thought they would flip so that they fall into that groove and grab better. So I actually did that. And then I found the instructions, and the picture has it opposite. So I just flipped it back over. But that's it. The only thing I'm a little worried about is I'm not 100% sure those are completely sealed up. So I might take them down. Actually, I'll do the next two. If the next two look different than that, then I'll come back to these and maybe reset them and see if they come completely flush. Because it seems like they should be completely flush. But I don't remember what they look like when I took them off. And these are the original. Not the springs, but the keepers and the retainers. There we go. Take those two out and bump it down. So there is a little gap here, and I made sure to go down a little farther so I could confirm that it wasn't binding. So these gaps are just a-okay. I'm going to try to get this. So I've been testing these to make sure they have good suction. I'm holding my finger over the other end of the valve stem. Okay, now I'm going to pull it out, and it should spring back if there's good sealing. Yep, I can feel it sucking my finger in there. I'm also rotating this a little bit because there is assembly lube inside the guide. So it's lubricated with oil. The valve stem itself has oil, and the valve guide itself has assembly lube. So there's two different kinds in there. And the valves are covered in oil. And the valve seats. I came back and put another layer of oil so they're not going to rust either. Yeah, it's going to smoke a tad, but I'd rather it smoke for 30 seconds than rust. Looking good. I'm probably going to bonk them. I did bonk the first two. Yeah, let's just do it down the line. Hold on. All right, bottom two. They're moving. There we go, ladies and gents. Actually, there aren't any ladies. Cool. Driver's side is complete. All right, well, we are done with the valves. I really didn't have any major problems. I just had one here. It wasn't perfectly straight, so it was very hard to move the spring over, but we managed to get through it. But I'm excited. We made some real good headway. The head studs came just in time. Now we could have moved forward with just the head bolts, but it's cool that they're here. They're all moving. For the record, I don't know if you're supposed to do that. What we're going to do next is lay them on the block over there, assemble the rockers, and then we're going to rotate the engine to find top dead center, and we're going to measure the push rods. After we order and receive the push rods, which Summit is really good, they're fast on most things. On everything I've spent money on, minus the paperwork debacle, they ship it out like immediately. They're really good about that. Like, all that to say, I guess by the end of next week, we're going to basically have every single part for this engine. I still have a bunch of odds and ends. Like I'd said earlier, I'm not trying to get overwhelmed by thinking about absolutely everything 10 steps down the road. Man, it's bright. But I've got a few sensors, got a few odds and ends. So I knew I was going to be making, I purposely spaced out everything in stages so that I wouldn't overwhelm myself and get frustrated and just say, ah, screw it, I don't want to do it. Partly because I wasn't very confident that I could build it. You know, I was a cocky little son of a gun when I was in high school. I could do anything back then. And I did think about this, so I know I'm right. Another reason I'm not so confident like I was back in the day is this thing is costing so much money. Even though the consequences are less, like I don't need to have the car. When I was in high school, I was building it because that was my only car. So that's the mentality of me taking my time and doing everything real slow, because this is not my primary driver. Ironically, I drive it more than my daily, but if it goes down for a few weeks, get the motor swapped out, that's fine. All right, that's enough jibba jabba. That's a shout out to Taylor Ray. He said jibber jabber, and he says it a lot, and it gets annoying, and now I'm saying it, so. All right, well, these puppies are going on. I don't think I need to get ARP rocker bolts. They're just not that much, there's not that much pressure on them. All right, well, I'm trying to remember if I have anything else, because I'm about to wrap it up. I might even lay them on the engine just to look, just to get my mind ready for the next stage. All right, we're done for the night.